Welcome again to the Ink Nouveau, the essence of writing passion. I'm Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company, and today I'm talking about glass. Ocean Spray 2010, an excellent year. I'm not talking about this type of glass, I'm talking about glass pens, glass dip pens to be exact. You may have never heard of these things, but believe it or not, they've been around since the mid-17th century. And today I'm going to help to bring a comeback for these very, very cool writing pens. They're very interesting to use, great for testing out different types of inks. So I'm going to show you what they're all about and hopefully get you excited about some glass pens. Here we are, the Herbin glass dip pens. There's two different sizes, the small one and the large one. The small one comes in 6 different colors and the large one comes in 3 different colors. In the small one we've got blue, red, striped, you've got like a plum color, black, a yellow, and then a green stripe as well, which I don't have here. The large one comes in like a light blue, a dark blue, and then a violet color as well. There's really not any difference between the large one and the small one in terms of the nibs. The nibs are really the same. It's just the pen, the larger part of the pen. Obviously this one's quite a bit longer. It's fatter. It's got like a double bulge thing going on here where you hold it, so it's a little bit different experience when you write, but it is very, very cool looking. Basically the way that these things work, let me put all these aside. Okay, the way that they work is it has a fluted nib, a spiral fluted nib. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. And these flutes, when you dip it into the ink sits in these flutes. And then as you write, it just draws down until you can get maybe a line or two, and then you need to redip. The one drawback to these types of pens is that when you start writing, it puts on a little more ink than when you finish writing, so it appears a little darker. So if you're using it to test ink colors, then you definitely don't want to judge it off of the beginning of the dip part. So what I have here is I have a tablet of Goulet Vierge de France. This is the champagne color, which is a little bit darker than the ivory color. I think it looks a little more of like a vintage type of color, because that's kind of what I'm going for. When you're writing with these pens, it tends to give you more of a handwritten, well obviously everything you're writing with a pen is handwritten, but more of an old style script, more like a quill type of writing, as opposed to these flexible nibs. So it's a much more raw type of writing. So I got 4 different inks here, and the one thing I want to show you is the benefit to using a glass dip pen if you want to test out different types of ink colors. Here I have a bottle of Herbin Éclat de Saphir. So basically you take it and you dip it in there and you get a good amount of ink on there, and then you just tap it on the side to get the excess off. So you can see now I've got plenty of ink in there. You can see it in the flutes, and then you just start writing just like you would with anything else. You hold it just like you would any normal pen. You can hold it on the ball or you can hold it back. Personally, I like to hold it a little bit further back just because I have very large hands. But you can see here, it's starting to run out of ink a little bit there, and you can see on the nib, well, I don't know how well it'll come across in the video, but it's like dried on one side and there's still stuff in the flutes on the other side. So you kind of twist the pen in your hand a little bit, and then you can get a little bit further in the ink. So that's a way to kind of cheat it. And if you get a nice big dip in there, I only dipped it about halfway, but you can get quite a bit further. And then the best part about these pens is the way that you change ink colors. You just take a wet paper towel and you just wipe it off. There you go. It's clean. Now if I want to switch, say I want to go to a Herbin Rose Cyclamen, entirely different color of ink. Just take it, dip it in there, tap it just like that, and just like that, no flushing, no rinsing and having to worry about the inks contaminating each other. There you go, just like that. Want to switch again? No problem. Just take paper towel. Now it took a couple wipes, but there you go. Now I want to go to a brown color, a Café des Îles. This is the great tool to use if you want to switch in between a lot of different colors of ink very quickly and get an accurate picture of what your ink colors will look like without having to flush out and deal with all of that mess for your normal fountain pens. There you go. Bam. So you can see my handwriting is a little bit raw, not quite as good as it is with a regular fountain pen, and it does get thicker and thinner depending on how much ink you have on, and so it does take a little bit of practice, takes a little bit of technique to get to it, but it's fun. It's a fun thing to practice. The one thing about these pens is they do come just a little bit rough. They're handmade. All the pens are handmade glass, and so there is a little bit of variation between them, and it does tend to have a bit of a rough, kind of scratchy nib section. But what you can do if you want to smooth it up a little bit, because me personally, I'm one of those people who really likes to have smooth nibs when I write. It just gives me a really nice feel. What you can do is take, this is just some wet dry automotive sandpaper. This is 600 grit sandpaper. All you have to do is you can either put it on down and just kind of scratch it back and forth. You're not going to hurt it, you know, it's just glass. It's like polishing any type of glass. Or you can take and you can hold it in your hand and you can just kind of go and kind of round out the nib a little bit and then test it again and see if that's to your liking. See, that's a little bit smoother now. And you can sand it out, and you can even go finer grits if you want to get it really smooth. You know the phrase "smooth as glass." Well, you can get it pretty darn smooth if you want. So you can kind of adjust it, which is neat. You can kind of be your own little nib grinder here without a whole lot of tools. So you can write it and adjust it to your liking. The last thing that's really neat about these glass dip pens is they are made. If you notice, the J. Herbin bottles have a really interesting shape to them. They've got a nice little pen rest there. Well, funny how that works. They're made to fit with the glass dip pens. A lot of people complain that they don't fit their big Viscontis or Mont Blanc 149s or whatever it may be, but these glass dip pens do work pretty well for it. You just dip it and then you can rest it right on there. The last thing I want to talk to you here about with this pen is if you're trying to use it to accurately get a depiction of what color you're going to get out of your fountain pen. The best thing to do is to dip it, kind of swirl off the excess there, and then write with it, and basically discard the first half of everything that you write, because it's going to be very dark, very thick, and it's not going to be an accurate color of what it would look like in a fountain pen. But as you get towards the end of what you're writing, you can see as it starts to kind of run out, right there, bam, all that right there, that is what it would look like in a fountain pen. So as you can see, it's really dark here, and then it starts to kind of taper off, and as it starts to taper off, that's more of the color. That's when you start to get some effects of the shading and things like that especially the J. Herbin inks are really known for. But you can see the difference there between the dark and the light color. So you got to be aware of that when you have the glass dip pens. So there, now you've been officially introduced to the J. Herbin glass dip pen. Hopefully you pick one up. They're pretty cool little pens. They're fairly cheap as far as pens go, far cheaper than most fountain pens. It's a neat little thing to try for the novelty, for the aesthetics, if nothing else. It's really cool, and it's an easy way to try out your different inks that you maybe have had sitting on the shelf for a year or two, and you just don't feel like flushing out a whole other lever fill or whatever to have to deal with it. The glass dip pen is a great way to just kind of test out your old stuff and see if maybe there's an old ink that you've got lying around somewhere that you might want to pull out again. So anyway, thank you. Cheers. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. If you have a glass dip pen, let me know how you like it, or if you have any tips for me on how the experience can better be enhanced. I appreciate you sticking with me on another video here. Let me know what you think. Brian@gouletpens.com. That is my email. and I will see you again next time on the Ink Nouveau.